welcome back to the Fish and Grits podcast, Atlanta's newest and some might say best dressed podcast about Atlanta sports, culture, and everything in between. My name's Lionel McNamara. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Ryan Dollar.
What up?
Michael Poole.
Yo.
And Marco Restrepo. How's it going, guys?
That's me. Yeah, hey, what's up?
You good?
I'm making it.
That was intentional just to see if I could throw Micah off of his usual what up.
What up? No special guests this week. Oprah Winfrey couldn't make it. After we got Bunker on last time, Oprah said she wanted to come in, but she's doing something else. So,
hey,
busy lady.
But there has been contact made with another fairly large, actually nationally big sports figurehead. Marco knows who it is.
Julio Jones.
Nope.
If it's not Julio Jones, I don't care.
No, he's a talking head. But
Was it Uncle Shay? Uncle Shay?
shit, I wish.
Oh, okay.
Is it Francesca? Anyway, so we got a lot to do today. We got some talk about some NBA. There's been some movement on the NBA season like today, which has been pretty neat. We got some stuff to talk about Major League Baseball. Those of you watching the YouTube version of the podcast, you can see I'm wearing my Stripers hat. I am mourning minor league baseball for this year. I love minor league baseball. So that's why we're rocking the Stripers today. We got a little bit of NFL. Man, I love the Stripers. Micah gets that because we went to a strip club once. And then
Yes, we did.
Life. And we got a little bit of NFL, and I got some soccer that looks pretty dope. And I want to give a shout out to help me remember. But I think first it's important that we acknowledge that, it's not like normal out there right now.
Different world we're living in right now.
Bro. So, I think, we say that we want to do podcasts about Atlanta culture, right? And we talk a lot about sports because that's, mostly what we dig, and especially because we can't watch any right now. But, on the 25th, which is my daughter's birthday, a man named George Floyd was asphyxiated to death by the Minneapolis Police Department for the crime of trying to pay for something with a forged $20 bill. Right, that he might not have even known was a forgery, right? One of the police officers knelt on George Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes while he was gasping that he couldn't breathe, while 3 other police officers just sort of stood around. Now, I don't know if anybody listens to this podcast, but if you do, I want you to know that I don't give a fuck if you think that all lives matter at all. We are in a state right now. This shit has got me so fucked up. And I've been on my Instagram, on my Facebook, I've been on a mission to piss off as many people as I can just because of how outraged I am, and the country seems outraged. We've had like a week straight of protests, and part of it's just because, we've all been at home, so we're mad anyway. But I mean, like in the span of 2 weeks, we had Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed for maybe checking out a construction site.
Like an empty lot.
Yeah. We had Breonna Taylor, an EMT in Louisville, who was asleep in her bed, and the cops broke into her house on accident. They went into the wrong house. They shot her and then arrested her boyfriend, I believe it's boyfriend, could be husband, her significant other, for trying to shoot at them when they busted in the house, didn't announce themselves, no knock warranted them. Like, this shit is ridiculous, man. And anyway, I just think it's important that while we have a second, especially because we have Micah and Marco here, and, it's important that we amplify as many voices as we can, as often as we can. I want to go ahead and yield the floor and just, starting with Micah, just how are you doing, man? Are you okay? Fuck.
I'm better. I was talking to one of my coworkers about it today, and last weekend I was struggling. It was, they said, drained. Just felt like it was nothing left in the tank. But I had to work. I got to pay bills, so I had to suck it up and just go through and work and stuff like that. But I mean, there anger, sadness, rage, this feeling you just want to destroy something, but it's just like, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, but if I do, what does it help? And I told a friend of mine today, I said, I now have so much more. I mean, I already had a lot of respect for my elders, ancestors, but I have the utmost respect for them now, because for them to endure and be strong and hopeful in the time of pretty much hopelessness, it's just like, wow, I don't know how y'all did it and remained hopeful despite all that y'all went through and back in those days. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so many emotions, so many words that should be said and shouldn't be said. But, it's such a shame that we're still at this point. And in order to move forward, I think it's almost a blessing that this happened during all this COVID-19 thing, because people are sort of like stuck inside, and especially white people, because this hurts Black people every time. There's not like why is this happening now? Why didn't this happen then? It always hurts us. But the fact that people are sort of having to stay inside and face these demons, it's bringing it out of everybody. And we're seeing it. People you would never even have thought yesterday were posting the Black squares, and it's impacted so many people. And I just hope that, this sparks the mind to bring that actionable change, because the emotion will disappear. But so many people are captivated right now that we have to actionize this to make that change, like our civil rights of this generation, our Civil Rights Act of this generation, the police reform that needs to take place. There's just so many angles to hit from this. So I want to hear what y'all got to say too, because, I've been seeing y'all out here, you're being active and feeling like a human should, and I love it. And I love what everybody's doing. I've been silent. Like I said, the words are just so hard to come by, because it's so deep, it's so deep from the education system up. And, the feeling of racism, like sitting in class and learning about slavery and being like the only Black kid in the room and feeling that energy. This country is racism. And all this is about is acknowledging, I guess for white people, a lot of white people, that it exists. And it's such a huge barrier for some reason. But like I said, let me hear what y'all got to say about this.
And I'm literally on empty. I mean, you've seen me raging all across every social media platform that I have. And just really, I think Lionel and I have had a very similar response on this too. I don't care if what I'm showing you or what I'm saying makes you uncomfortable, because it should. It's been making a lot of people uncomfortable for the better part of 400 years. And it's about goddamn time that you get uncomfortable too. And not every white person out there has been like this. I think Lionel and I both can be signs that, there are people out here that got it and have gotten it for a while, but it's now we've taken it upon our shoulders to put that out to the rest of our community that has been so passively engaged in this. Because Micah being my best friend, Marco being my brother-in-law, I mean, I can't just sit back idly and just go, oh, well, maybe they'll get it. Maybe they'll step up this time. And there are people up in arms out there. And there are people out there making their voices heard. And what I hope and what I pray is this is just not a fad or something that is popular at the moment for them, that they actually, it sits on their heart and sits in their soul, and they really learn from this. And there hasn't been a night that I haven't gone to bed where I've not cried, because too many of my friends, too many of my significant others, my wife, my child is half Black. Like, I cannot, of good conscience, go to bed and think I didn't do everything I could today. And I swear, if I didn't have a child that I feared exposing to COVID, just like Lionel said earlier today, actually, that we would be out there in lockstep with everyone, screaming at people, pleading with them to actually take action and to listen, to look at someone in the eyes that experiences this every day. Micah has experienced this for every day of his life for 33 years now. Marco has experienced this every day of his life for 32 years now.
30.
Fucking ass. You're okay. You're younger than I. My bad.
38 years.
Marco's very old.
He's got one of those faces that's like 13 or 30. You know what I mean? Like, depending on what face he's making, you're like, man, that's an old ass dude. Or you're like, are you old enough to vote? You know?
I hope so. If the rules don't change.
But in the eyes and feel that pain, because it's what you need to do. That's what you need to feel. I'll stop now because I can go on for a long, long time about this. And if anyone listening to this that I know personally wants to talk to me, I will carve out time for you, whether it be via phone, FaceTime, anything. If you don't understand, I'm not going to come to you in a hostile factor or a manner, because that's not going to solve anything. I will come to you with understanding. I will come to you with hope, and I will come to you with the same passion that I bring to everything in life. And because I want to bridge this gap, because I don't get it. I don't get why the amount of melanin in Micah's skin or Marco's skin somehow makes them less than me. I don't. I just don't. I cannot wrap my head around that. And there's no one that can convince me otherwise. But what my goal is to do is to maybe tip the scales the other way, and just the slightest bit. Maybe it's a half little bit. But what up, Jackson in the background? Or no?
No, it's we're dropping something off. Yeah, man. Like, so Ryan, you know my buddy Danny, right? Mulvihill. I love that man, and his wife Kelly is mixed. You know, we called her Mocha Kelly when we were in the Marine Corps, because there were like 5 Kellys, so they each got their own thing. You know, sort of like Party Kelly. We had like Scandalous Kelly. You know what I mean? She was Mocha Kelly, man. And she's just to embarrass her, if she ever listens to this podcast, I'm gonna send Danny the link. She's one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life, and I don't understand how he got her. And like, he can't let go.
Does Danny?
Like he's never gonna reach this height again. He shot his shot and he made it. But she said the other day that they've got 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And she said when both of them came out, she thanked God that they were light-skinned enough to pass as mostly white. Because, of course, Danny's like blonde-haired, blue-eyed Irishman, right? And she's mixed. And she said that she's glad because she doesn't have to worry about them that much. You know, they might be able to pass. For me personally, my daughter Violet has a friend in her preschool class who she's really, like, she likes a lot, and he's a little black boy. You know, that's her buddy right now. And I just wonder about, like, in 12 years, if they're going out to go see a movie or something like that together, like, do I have to say be careful? And like, why? I got a bunch of friends who are from the military. You know, this, for our podcast audience who doesn't know me, I served 4 years in the Marine Corps infantry. And I've got a bunch of Marines who are my friends, and then a bunch of family who are also sort of military affiliated, you know? And a few weeks ago, there was this shit about, like, the government says I can't go get my nails done. This is literal slavery. This is fascism. I'm going to storm the state house with an assault rifle, and the cops are going to do nothing. And then yesterday, I was reading about how the president of the United States tear gassed a peaceful protesting crowd outside of the White House so he could go take a picture with a Bible in front of a church he didn't go to. And they don't care, man. I haven't seen shit. I haven't seen shit about this
How
from
is
these
that
people.
not punished? Like, that's crazy.
Well, and like, how are you not mad? Right? Like, you were mad about government oppression, and you have assault rifles because of the Second Amendment to stop government overreach, and now they're out here crushing protests and killing our fellow citizens. You don't care. You're like, well, they should comply with the police. Motherfucker, we started a new country for this. Right? I saw allegedly. I saw somewhere somebody posted a thing where they were talking about a young man got hit in the head with the butt of a rifle, and protest was called, and the police attacked the protesters and escalated and stuff like that. And it was like framed like it had recently happened, you know? And then at the bottom it said, if you weren't mad about this, this is the stuff that led up to the Revolutionary War in 1776. And like, anyway, I'm pissed, man. But there have been a couple of positive things that have kept me from going on E, right? Like what Ryan was saying, that he's on empty, like, and I don't mean to ramble on, but I got to get this out. And I'm emotionally compromised. So if I start getting emotional, y'all excuse me. I went to Iraq though, so you can't say that I'm not manly, because pew, 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 I shot more guns than you. I've had so many messages of support from people who have like texted me and just been like, you know, your unrelenting Facebook posts give me life, you know, or like on Instagram, or I posted something on Facebook the other day. I was like, mute me now, because here it comes. And then I went on like a 25 post spree, right? And I had people commenting there. They're like, I'm ready for it. Like, hell yeah. Because like, they might not feel comfortable being as vocal about their opinions as I do. But seeing that, you know, and then other stuff like, I got a friend of mine who, pardon my dog in the background, I'm going to murder him later. I got a friend of mine who sent me a message today. He said that he used to not care about anything politics, right? And he said that after seeing so many people, but especially like me and a couple other people just being, you know, fucking pissed, right? He went and did some research, and he's voting for the first time in his life today.
Wow.
Which is,
you sparked that change, man.
Huge.
I mean, I don't want to take the credit for it, but like seeing stuff like that. And also it just feels different, right? This one feels different.
Yeah.
You know, when Michael Brown was killed, you know, the protests in Ferguson were real, right? But like the stuff in Atlanta was just sort of like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, they tried.
Right, but it wasn't like this. When Philando Castile was murdered in Minnesota, it was the same thing. But like, we had protests in every state of the nation over the last 6 days. Mm-hmm. Every single state.
It's the COVID, man. It's so interlinked with that it's a timing thing. And the media, it's a perfect potion, you know, that could only happen at this time. Like this could have never happened any other time, you know. And it's not necessarily a boiling thing where it finally reached a boiling point. It's just that the pot, the ingredients in the pot are perfect for this to happen. And then it has to, because police have to be held accountable. There has to be, you know, assessments of, you know, their racial tolerability. There has to be, you know, they have to look deep into their histories of violence and, you know, seed them out. And if you're racially intolerant and you come to us with no violence, put them in places where they don't have to interact. You know what I mean? Or put them in community things. Like if you do racially motivated stuff, you have to go interact with that community, or you have to lose your job. It's like, but the murder, you know, that's the thing. That's also the line. Like they have to pay. Like people who are involved in this, they have to pay. That's the justice angle, at least. That will satiate that little bit. But it's still, it's such a systematic thing that it starts with education. It starts with police reform. and the people who are in there aren't worthy of jobs. They're animals, you know. A lot of them, I can't say that like every single police, obviously. I don't speak in absolutes like that. But if there's 1%, you have to talk about them, you know.
I feel like the police have done a really good job of showing who they are throughout this period. Because you can literally go country or city by city and name them. New York, they were beating New Yorkers for peacefully protesting. Boston, LA, they were beating with their clubs for standing there with their hands up just 2 days ago.
Really, they've got that gang of white dudes with baseball bats that the police have deputized to go through and beat up protesters.
I missed that one.
Yeah, that one. And in stuff like LA or New York, they're like running people over with their cars.
Yeah.
And like, here's the
I fear, I'll let you go, but I fear that some of these things will help, because if you saw like the budget, I saw like a budget breakdown for what they're trying to do in California with the police force. And it was like 70 to 30 for everything else. And it's like, I fear that a lot of this action might give them, you know, the false sense of security that they need to pass those kind of things. And I hope, you know, that a lot of that isn't, you know, a recoil. And that's why I really hope that soon that, you know, we can pinpoint this pressure into something useful. Well, go ahead, Lionel. I cut you off.
Nah, man, I was just, you know, if they're, I saw a tweet and I screenshotted it and posted it on Facebook because that's what I do. But I saw a post that was like, if there are 10 bad police and 1,000 good police, and those 1,000 good police don't do anything about the 10, there are 1,010 bad police.
Exactly.
That's it, man.
Real.
And like,
real.
being a cop is a choice, dude. Like I hate it when people are like, oh, well, the blue lives matter. Fuck you, man. It's a job. It's not even like you sign a contract. Like when I went to the military that I cannot get out of, you know, like I signed my body to the government for 4 years, man. If there was a job where somebody was like, I want you to go shoot a rubber bullet at some kids, I would quit.
Right.
Go do something else. Like,
They don't
it's
even
not
get paid that well.
And that was part of it, man. It's like, it's so easy to be a cop because all they're looking for is dumb, aggressive, and willing to do shit for no money. And like, I would not be a cop because they don't pay you well enough, right?
It's stupid because you and I both know, like, in the military, we policed our own shit. Like, the bad seeds, we dealt with them. All that shit. Lionel, I'll never forget that story you told me about that one LT y'all had, who I believe was an LT, or it was a young buck sergeant or something like that. And y'all said, if we ever got him out on patrol by ourselves, he wasn't coming back because he was just that piece of shit. And I don't think there's enough of that. I don't think there's enough accountability. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to stand up to one another. And don't get me wrong, there are some that do, because you are seeing them do it, but they don't have the backing. They don't have that. I mean, I don't know. There's no evidence for that on my part. But yeah, that's the thing. If you don't want to do it, or this isn't for you, get the fuck out.
Right. Yeah. What do y'all think of this idea? Like, so I was listening to this audio. Did y'all hear that one thing where they were like, it was in New York and they were sort of playing their audio and they were like talking about, oh, we're boxed in, we can't move, blah, blah, blah. And then the one guy was like, just shoot him, blah, blah, blah. And he said, don't say that over the radio. I feel like there should be like a database that they upload all of the, you know, like maybe not for like cases, sensitive cases and stuff like that, but make it that public, make that aspect public, all those recordings, all those audios. So it puts people in, you know, in a sense where it's like, we can't mess up like that. You know what I mean?
You know, the police. Tucker, man.
For the people listening, there's a dog that just jumped on the bed. We're not laughing about anything that regards.
No, there's nothing funny about what we're talking about. But my dog is I got bad dogs. The police have too much political power.
Yeah.
And it makes me mad because they are public employees.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the military is not allowed to have unions, right? And the military is not allowed to engage as a officially, right, as a political entity. It's a violation of the Hatch Act. But local police departments, like in New York City, where the NYPD is massive, right? It's basically an army, right? It's the same size and with the same equipment as a European army, minus like a couple fighter jets, which I'm sure they got somewhere in Brooklyn or something. But like they can form a union and then they're allowed to lobby based on that. They're a political force, and that is what stops us from real police reform, is that even left-leaning politicians can't get any police reform through. It's just like in Illinois with their incredibly strong teachers union. You know, you can't pass any reforms in education in Illinois. It just won't happen because they'll just spend the money to get the next guy up. And man, like, this is one of the biggest bags of bullshit about Republicans. I'm going to name them because I don't give a fuck. But, you know, they say like, our cops are heroes. And then they pay them $40,000 a year. Like, why do you get these sorts of folks in police forces? Because they come out of the military and they didn't feel like they did enough, so they got to go back in. And a lot of those guys are like, if it's brown, it's down. Like, that's a direct quote from United States Marines in 2008. Like, those same dudes are now cops. I got an unnamed Marine of mine who, when we were in the military, tried to convince me that he could say the N-word because it wasn't racist. He just meant lazy people.
It's a mentality.
He's a Jackson County parole officer. Mm-hmm. And you try to have conversations with him about social justice. He's like, man, all these thugs and criminals, without ever trying to understand like why people might be in these positions. And it's just like, it just boils my blood, man, because I believe enough in what we think the idea of America is that I would put my body on the line for it. And like, it makes me mad that I went through all that shit for this country that like has never existed. And, you know, when I went in, Obama just got elected in 2008 and I was like, yes, we're finally going to do something about this. You know what I mean? And then we followed up with the reality TV host, you know what I'm saying? It's just a shit show out there. So I just want to say, now that I've been on my you know, upper middle class white man soapbox about this for long enough, you know, I just want to let you guys know that like I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this stops. To, you know, you two who I'm looking at on this Zoom call that Ryan's paying for, thank you, Ryan. But also to everybody else who's out there, like, we don't deserve this, man. And it's our job to make sure that we fought a fucking war over this. You know, we already won. Like, why are we relitigating? So anyway, fuck the police. And that's where I'm at with that. So
yeah,
for sure.
But I have to say personally, I do really appreciate both you and Ryan for because I know, like I said, this weekend, and I told y'all personally, like, I know a lot of conservative white friends who made insensitive comments and so on and so forth. They talked more about the rioting than they did the actual injustice to what happened to George Floyd. And it was like, you know, I wanted to say something, but
like, here, I'll say it for you. If you're conservative and white and you don't get this shit, fuck you.
Well, I mean, but my thing was, it was just, I was tired and trying to put into words my thoughts and feelings. I was just, I couldn't do it. It was just like, I'd start and then it's just like, I just didn't have the motivation to even put it in the
Can't
words.
argue fools, man. Can't argue fools.
Well, but I mean, here's the thing. I'm one, in my background, for anybody who doesn't know, I am a Christian. And because of, and I hate it because of so many conservative Christians and it drives me crazy because they're so most of them are staunch Trump supporters, and no matter what he says or does, it's okay. No, they make it, even when he says something stupid, they make excuses for it. But the reality of it is, part of where we are in this nation, race-wise, is because of his insensitivity and the folks. And I'm like, as a Christian, one of the most fundamental things that we're supposed to strive for is to love each other. And so if as a Christian, I'm supposed to love and support those around me, whether I fully understand you or not, I'm supposed to love and show support for you, especially if you're going through a hard time. And it's just the insensitivity, it's indifference. And that's the problem. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes now. It's like Dr. King initially said it, and it was in Boondock Saints. It said, we're taught that we should fear evil men, but there's a new fear that a new evil that we should fear most, and that's the indifference of good men. And it's these. So, I'm not racist. I'm a good person. But when you see an injustice happening, you're just kind of like, it's not affecting.
Not my fight.
Standard apathy's a bitch, man.
Yeah, and it bothers me so much. And the fact that you can get on there and, like I said, after it happened, I saw All Lives Matter posts and not Black Lives Matter. I'm like, you know what? And I'm one that prefers to take the high road instead of just saying fuck you to all of them. I want to have the conversation. But I know I can't have the conversation by doing that. And that's been the biggest frustration for me. So.
Look,
Yeah,
if you want to loot a Target and get an Xbox while you're protesting the state murdering someone who looks like you, I'm fine with it, because all Target's going to do is continue to pay sub-livable wages and then post a black picture on a certain day and say like, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter, man. And then they'll keep donating to Republicans. Fuck it. Go get you a flat screen, man. I don't give a shit.
just don't get arrested, guys.
Right. Let's practice thoughtful, smart.
We're still black
looting.
at the end of the day in this
you will still
majority-ruled country.
Ugh.
So there's a lot of elements, but it's the majority just it feels like, I don't know if to call it white privilege or majority privilege, but that's what feeds
Same shit, dude.
that, like what you're talking about, where they're like, it's just the refusal to acknowledge that there's even an issue. But I also want people to understand though that when we talk about police brutality, it's not just the person getting gunned down or choked out. It's also the fact that I've been pulled over on 3 separate occasions and had guns drawn on me without, and you think that a public service person would come up to you. Like, this is a community. They can't come up to you and ask you, even if you're suspicious. I understand suspicion. That's human. But you pull up with 8 cops, 2 different times, 8 cops were called on me, and they all came out and drew guns on me. Another time I was walking into my community, and the cop asked me, where's your community ID? There's no community ID here. And he literally had his hand on his gun while he was asking me that.
I'd be like, excuse me, officer, where the fuck do you live?
Exactly. And I just want people to understand that, like,
I drive in from Wander
to the really bad parts. We react to the extremes, but it's every aspect, that comes across,
Here's my question, man. Like, how many cops have been killed because they're cops? Like, singled out and like killed because they're cops? And how many black people have been killed because they're black?
Yeah.
And which of these groups responds as if the other is the enemy? Also, you're a police officer. Like, why are you coming up to somebody with your hand on your gun? Like, maybe they need help. There's that guy that got killed in North Carolina because he stopped at a white lady's house. He was in a car accident. He was covered in blood. He was knocking on the door. He's like, help me. He said, help me. I was in a car accident. I need help. I was just in a car accident. I'm hurt. Then the cop showed up and shot him. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
How are you like? And I'm paying your bills. It's baloney.
Or like Stephon Clark on his grandmother's porch with a cell phone in his hand, and they shoot him 22 times just because, oh, we thought it was a gun. A cell phone looks like a gun, apparently.
I can't believe that Tamir Rice wasn't the end of it.
Yeah.
They killed that kid, man. You're muted, Ryan.
Fucking 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, for doing shit that I did when I was 12. You know, we had like hella realistic guns back then, right?
I was certainly warned about that one. That was like a huge one with my mom. She's like, don't ever take these guns outside.
Oh, see, but like
they will shoot you.
I'm out there like pulling the orange cap off of the front of them because I thought it looked stupid.
Yeah, my parents didn't let us take the cap guns out of the yard.
Hell no. Yeah, she wouldn't even let us take that outside. She was
good because Tamir Rice got shot.
Don't understand what they're talking about. This is what everyone's talking about. This is the point they're trying to make. If you've never experienced that, listen.
Right. It's funny. It's like you think that was a part of a lot of people's just childhood, being able to do whatever.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even think of it like we're really missing out, but still, it's just a part of our lives, you know.
Like I remember we used to hang out. I stopped hanging out at Atlantic Station because we used to get harassed all the time by the police officers up there. The Atlantic Station is closed. Well, we're trying to go to the movies. Oh, it's closed. Go home. Really?
See, and like the shit that gets me is that like they're harassing you, Micah, but like they have more in common with your country ass than they do with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they should be like, you know, these guys from like Coweta County, you know what I mean? That come down and they're like, I'm state patrol for the state of Georgia. I'm from Waycross. They have way more in common with you than me, right? Because like you guys just say go dogs at each other back and forth like 40 times. And I'm over here like, you know what? If we all got paid $2,000 a month, you know, like I'm over here like yang ganging, you know, like, but they're gonna see me there and be like, hello, sir, you know, and they're harassing you. Like, you got the wrong one, man. Come after me because I'm the one that's gonna try to take your job away from you. You know, like I'm the crazy radical. Micah's cool, man. He'll ride a horse with you. Go to a tractor pull. I don't know what country people do.
I actually have gone to a tractor pull.
Wow.
It is hilarious.
Maybe that's why Sean McVay won't call you back, Micah.
but you know, it's funny though, because one of the I told Ryan before we got on here, I was talking to a friend about the whole issue, and you know, I told someone, I said, both of us are big guys, and I said if me and him stood next to each other and we asked random white people who didn't know who we are, who you thought would be more likely to fight you, 90%, 99% of people probably would have said, I'm the one that's more likely to fight you. In reality, he's one who has that ridiculous temper and will fight pretty much anybody. But just off of the way I look versus the way he looks, me being black and him being a white guy, they probably think that I'm the more aggressive, violent person between the two of us.
I've only seen you fight doors, so
those doors don't stand a chance with me.
Yeah, and bear fights. That's it.
Oh yeah, I'll take those down.
Yeah, but I don't want to snitch on myself, but I mean, it's crazy though that you never know who you're gonna get. Because one time, this country cop, like my car was reeking of loud, and I was up like Buford, and this dude just like acted like he didn't even. He was like, all he said was like, "Is there anything else I should know about, sir?" And I was like, nah.
Nah, bro. Nah.
Nope. And he just let me go. He had the buzz cut and everything, like the little box.
Look,
and the box buzz country cut.
I want to make sure, like, I want to clarify. There are good people who are police officers. And there are police officers who do their job. But I can't abide the United States police force until we get to a place where we don't have to, go into the streets and start setting shit on fire.
Yeah.
Like, until we get to the point where when someone kneels on someone else's neck and chokes them to death as a cop, they immediately get arrested because there's cell phone video of it, or like, until we get to the point where the police commissioner in New York sees NYPD officers driving their SUVs into protesters and says they're in prison, they're in jail right now waiting to get charged. Until that moment, fuck the police.
Yeah, I think it'll be a huge landmark when all 4 of these guys go and sit in jail.
A week and 2 days for them all to get arrested finally.
Yeah, it'll be, but like that's what we, if it doesn't happen, it'll be just another big balloon that just gets popped again. But if they end up serving time and doing how they're supposed to, then that will set the precedent that is so necessary going forward. That little fear, will inspire a change that's forced within the police force. So,
Ryan, were you trying to say something?
I was just wondering if Marco had seen that they had all actually been arrested now. And
yeah, I'm just saying if the charges stick, that's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying now, and that's what I figured. Your statement.
If you're mad about this, like I am, you got to remember that it's not a Republican Democrat thing. Keith Ellison, who's the Attorney General of Minnesota, who's like a Bernie guy. He's one of the co-chairs of the Democratic Party. It took him 10 days to elevate charges against Officer Chauvin.
Right.
And he's Black and a Democrat, a progressive Democrat.
Right.
And he was there, holding water for the establishment and telling people to go home and spreading lies about,
Right.
Antifa
Jay-Z
or whatever
had to
it
call
is.
him.
I mean, Hove, I got problems with Hove because he's not a businessman. He's a businessman.
Businessman.
But anyway, so let's wrap this up unless you guys got something else you want to talk about. Let's do some
I was just gonna say, are we gonna take poops on Drew Brees now, or is that after in the second?
Let's take poops on Drew Brees in just a second. I just want to I got a shout out. There's a Apple Music playlist. If you don't have Apple Music, you can get an app called Song Shift, where it'll transfer playlists between music apps for you. So you can just let me know. Maybe I'll hit you guys up with the track list or something like that. But there's a playlist that Ebro Darden posted. He helped create. All right. So yesterday, Apple Music, Spotify, and I don't remember I think it was Amazon, all blacked out all of their normal pages on their apps. So no browse, no radio, nothing. And it just said like, now's not the time. And Apple posted a link to a radio station where they were amplifying Black voices for the whole day. So Ebro Darden, who's their hip hop curator and also their evening host on Beats One, put out this playlist called For Us By Us. It is fire. It is so good. Kendrick Lamar, Vince Staples, like it's hot. It's great. And then also there's a new Run the Jewels album. So
just dropped today. Thanks.
Yeah, and available for free on their website, as always. So that's my music pimp. All right, transitioning. Drew Brees. Yet something else that Drew Brees has fallen short of. Drew Brees had the opportunity today to say that Black Lives Matter, and also to talk about Colin Kaepernick's kneeling during the national anthem. And instead, oh my God, instead he said that all lives mattered, and he doesn't like it when anyone disrespects the flag. So I have two things, and then I'm gonna yield. And I'm gonna yield to Marco because Marco's super excited about this. I got two quick things. The first thing is that fuck you, Drew Brees. Okay, And the second thing is that, have you ever been to a sporting event and seen all the fat ass redneck white people that won't stand up for the national anthem? They just sit there eating their fucking corn
with their hats
dogs.
on.
Right, with their hats on, eating their cotton candy and shit, and they're just like, woo, yeah, I love America, bro, woo. And they're mad because someone is kneeling. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. Just
Right.
fuck you, man. Like, but they're like, man, I can't believe that. I can't believe that Afro having thug is on the field disrespecting my flag as you turn the flag into a tank top that you stretch across your pale, sun-burned, flabby ass at fucking Myrtle Beach. Fuck you. I'm out. Marco, tell us why Drew Brees is a piece of shit.
Man, Drew Brees, it's crazy. Like, he's just evidence that you can literally tell somebody something over and over and over again. This fool's still in 2016. It's like, we established a long time ago that wasn't about the flag. And this fool's coming out.
It's been
like, it's
over,
like he's been
dude.
waiting. He's been waiting 4 years to say that one thing. He's like, hey, I got a point about black people, guys. Like, bro, like, shut the fuck up, man.
Nobody
And I'm
asked him in
glad two of his
2016, so
teammates-
he's just had it in his back
Right.
pocket for the whole time.
And I know we usually hate on Michael Thomas, but I'm glad he's the first person who said something about bitch-ass Drew Brees. And then I think Malcolm Jenkins said something too.
Malcolm was.
And I hope his whole team cumulatively, we might need to get in Kamara's DM, get in Jameis' DM, tell them, yo, text your boy, man, because he is lost and he is washed and he is done for.
Well, and y'all saw King James dunk on the man like right away. Like, LeBron James is mad at you, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, okay, you're the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, but this is LeBron James. You know, like, I don't see Drew Brees. Drew Brees is acting in a NyQuil commercial. King James is in the next Space Jam. Like, what the fuck, dude? You're not gonna win that fight. I saw also somewhere it's like, man, I hope Drew Brees' offensive line just quits. Like they just are
No,
like,
he's getting done in.
Ole!
He's getting done in. Because moderate people right now are like, bro. So there's a lot of people who are not very, like, you know, they're going to take him out, man.
So Drew Brees, I know that New Orleans, this is in Louisiana, right? And like Louisiana is basically the state equivalent or embodiment of those people who don't stand for the national anthem while they're eating their corn dog. But like, does he know what the makeup of the city of New Orleans is? It's not the Louisiana Saints. What the fuck, bro? You know, Jameis is in the background.
Right. So, you know, this Kaepernick guy really been grinding my gears.
Davis in the background eating W's like, oh yeah.
He's like, hell yeah. All right. Micah, man, how come Drew Brees is such a piece of shit, man?
Well, you know, I think what's his name, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings took his soul. So, you know, he's just insensitive. But let's just go back to the whole Kaepernick thing. All right, so you say it's disrespecting the flag, but he was told by a Green Beret that kneeling is the way to respect. Oh, but nope, that's disrespectful. According to who? Because folks in the military say, I don't have a problem with the kneeling. It's not disrespectful. It's actually how they respect their fallen comrades at their memorials. But, you know, kneeling in the national anthem is the worst thing you can do. And it's just like, all right, but we can't talk about the issue at hand. It became more about how he protested, and that's the problem. And Drew Brees, you get ass clown of the day for that stupid ass statement.
The year, man. Fuck that.
Yeah, for the year.
I just like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck?
You can be this far into it, and you're in a locker room where you're the minority,
Right.
and look at them and be like, nah, man, don't disrespect my flag. I hope they punch you in the throat.
Matter of fact, I hope they all kneel. The first game, everybody kneels next to and stares dead at Drew Brees. What you gonna do, Drew?
Right.
Just first snap of camp, is the whole line takes a knee and just let Cameron Jordan tee off.
Go get him.
Do you think Drew Brees is auditioning for a role with the New England Patriots, also known as the whitest team in professional football? That's just, I don't know. I'm just,
That's not a bad guess.
I'm just
Not a bad
spitballing
guess.
here.
No, because even Brady was like, huh? What are you talking about, Drew?
Oh man, like I said, I've never seen teammates turn on a guy that fast. It was just like what's his name? Michael Thomas was like, he don't know no better. Like Kamara spoke out.
Dang,
It's like, yo, dude.
It's like,
oh man,
Drew.
The Saints are just the fucking worst.
I'm glad everyone gets to feel like Atlanta fans for a second and be like, why we hate Drew Brees so much.
It's not just that, but yes, Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So while we're on the topic of the NFL, because fuck it, why not? Drew Brees sucks. What is the NFL going to look like when we come back?
well, hold on. Before we get to that, let's discuss Vic Fangio.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't know if any of you saw it. So Vic Fangio came out earlier today and essentially said that racism does not exist in the NFL. It's something that he's never seen and it doesn't exist in the NFL. Now, I see that he just came out and he's retracted those statements and he's clarified. And let's see what he said. He said after
Did he double down?
Riley Cooper has entered the chat.
and listening to the players this morning, I realized what I said regarding racism and discrimination in the NFL was wrong. While I've never personally experienced those terrible things firsthand during my 33 years in the NFL, I understand that many players, coaches, and staff have different perceptions.
Breaking news, white person
hasn't come out and said, oh, yeah, there's like one owner of color and two GMs of color, and there's a entire rule based on this. Yeah. The Rooney Rule, for those of you that aren't aware,
that I think they redid it, right?
They're trying to expand it.
Entire minority. We're gonna improve your draft pick. That's how bad it is.
Well, but even I don't think they said they weren't going through with that. But now they're trying to enforce them to have to interview even more
for more positions, right? Like more position coaches.
Yeah,
they
should, man, because there's a lot of qualified guys out here.
Well, and we live qualified, but they don't even bring in the qualified coaches.
Right.
For a few years back when
our own DQ hired Sarkisian.
And I'm blanking on his name now. When the Philly head coach job came up for grabs there, and at the time you had Deuce, and he's still up there, Deuce Staley, New Orleans own Deuce Staley. Was up there, and he was a running back coach at the time, and he was brought in for an interview.
Deuce Staley was the Eagles.
Deuce Staley was the running back.
Deuce McAllister. Saints.
Yeah, he was brought in for an interview, and everyone knew that he wasn't ready for a head coaching position. Everyone on the staff, everybody in the NFL was like, he's been a running back coach for like a year.
Rooney Rule.
This guy in.
Well, and it's like
it sneaks by in the background.
Yeah. Like they interview like the assistant property manager for the Rooney Rule and then hire Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
Like
right.
Well, but it's like I know they talked about it like who was I'm blanking on his name, former Bengals coach.
Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis, yeah. Like interviewing for him, like the Cowboys. They interviewed him, but they had no intention of ever making him a coach. They just kind of, we're going to get the high-profile guy. And, there are plenty of black coaches who have turned down interviews because they're like, all right, you already have the guy you want in mind, but you just interviewing me because you have to. And but that's, I got into it, a couple weeks ago, and I was adamant about Eric Bieniemy not getting the job. I mean, Giants' job was open this offseason. Instead of giving Bieniemy an opportunity, you went with a receiver/special teams coach from the Patriots in Joe Judge. And it's like, oh, well, we think this guy. So a guy being and you kind of use, oh, well, he's Andy Reid's protege against him in the argument as to why you chose Joe Judge over Bieniemy. It's like, all right, what about Joe Judge and his – because honestly, the receivers were probably the weakest thing of the Patriots last year. And that's the guy you want to make the head of your – to run your organization?
They're the Brady's in Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But, yeah, Fangio – I'm not letting him off the hook. That wasn't a real apology. He just doubled down. He just came through with a thin veiled, sorry I offended you. And but I've never seen it. That's all he said. So
all right. So now that I can go this is a good segue. So much like most Denver Broncos home games with Vic Fangio as the head coach and Drew Lock as their quarterback, the NFL is proposing coming back with no fans in the stadium. You see what I did there? Did you see what I did there? They're going to play behind closed doors with no fans. What is that going to sound like? Are we going to hear all the smack talk that goes? You see people jawing and stuff like that, but you never hear it because they're not going to mic up the second string cornerback, and they're not going to mic up the nose tackle.
According to what's his name, he wanted Deshaun Jackson, he wanted everybody mic'd up, which I'm like, that
was a bad idea.
That sounds incredible.
Well, that's what the XFL did, but I mean, some of those
you have to tape delay
in the NFL, you would have to bleep everything, or do like a tape delay just so you can bleep all the things that they say.
You need like an hour worth of tape.
No, man. No, listen. So for the broadcast, you just have on-field mics, but not really good ones, right? Maybe turn them down a little bit. You turn the volume down on Madden,
Right.
But then you mic everybody up, and that's the premium Sunday ticket stream. You know what I mean? Download the NFL app. Pay me $15 a month to listen to everybody curse at each other. I am in.
Awesome.
I am in, because then that will determine who the next jersey I buy is. It's like this guy's the best shit talker on the Falcons. I'm in on it, right?
Watch it be Matt Ryan. It's like, goddamn.
It's not Matt Ryan.
Honestly, I can see maybe Grady Jarrett or somebody being that kind of guy.
It's like you feel like you don't see any of them talk.
No, to be honest, it'd probably be Tack. I'm not getting to the quarterback. Oh, but I'm talking all day. Get to the quarterback, baby. You have
Ryan.
0 sacks for the game. Yeah, but I'm getting pressure.
Ryan, who's the MVP smack talker from the Falcons?
I'm going to go KZ. I bet he is a cash shit talker. I bet he's out there.
Yeah. He did say that on the radio that he talks a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I think he says
that's awesome. Yeah.
I want to say Debo, but I think Debo's just corny.
I think he's quiet. He seems like a quiet guy.
So I just want to
quiet too.
I want to clarify my position on Matt Ryan really quick. Okay, I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback that the Falcons have had in their entire history. But there's a reason why I have a Julio Jones jersey instead of a Matt Ryan jersey. Okay, Matt Ryan's the best quarterback we've ever had, but he's just plain yogurt. You know what I mean?
I had to buy his jersey that Super Bowl year though, because he really showed out. It was all him.
Nah, I just rocked the Roddy jersey. I got to think about wide receivers though. Man, Roddy White would be great on this team to listen to smack talk, dude.
Now, when he was on the team, there was no question.
You need to get Roddy White as a guest.
We need Roddy on this show. Oh, dude.
Oh, man.
Or Harry Douglas. I'm going to call LaShonda and just be like,
Well, he's in 92.9. The game got
Yeah,
leaked.
he is. He likes talking.
Our boy.
I love Douglas. There's a
He's
story
great.
about okay, so I worked at CDC with one of our admins is Harry Douglas's aunt, right? So Douglas went to Tennessee that first year that I was working there, and she's got pictures of him up in her cube and everything like that. And I was like, man, I love Harry Douglas. I was like, you want to know how you can tell that Matt Ryan is an excellent quarterback? He turned Harry Douglas into a 1,200-yard receiver.
Right.
But I loved Harry. He was little, but he was never scared, right? He was never scared.
Never scared to go cussing.
So
athletic as hell.
Yeah, man. So she was telling me about how she went to the U, so Marco will like that. She likes the Dolphins because she's from Miami, but she lives in Atlanta, whatever. So she was talking about they were at a family thing, and Harry was there along with Roddy White, and one Cameron Newton.
Oh, can't.
And Cam was asking her, he's like, Auntie, why don't you like me? And she was like, you talk too much, Cam. Plus you play for the Panthers. They might like you, but I don't. I hate the Panthers. So I just realized that Harry and Julio and Roddy and Cam might all hang out, they run in the same circles. They can be buddies and stuff like that. But even my former coworker has the same opinion of Cam Newton as I do, which is that you talk too much and you play for the Panthers. Fuck you, Cam.
My biggest problem is he types in wingdings.
I hate it. Be an adult, you're number 1 overall pick.
I know that's it's almost a talent because I feel like that takes time.
Well, it takes you so long. I wonder if he created his own keyboard. You know what I mean? Because you could download software keyboards. I wonder if this man took all of his money, his Oikos yogurt sponsorship money.
Put it on there.
He takes his his Greek yogurt sponsorship money and he uses it to build his own keyboard so he can cam type.
So he can just type web.
Dude, look, I think Cam Newton should be our backup quarterback. I think that
I know, right? That would cause some shit.
Oh yeah, that would cause so much controversy.
But it would be amazing. It's like Gurley. Why not? Number one, if any city in this country needs to have a dynamic playmaking quarterback to appease the fan base, it's us, right? But the other thing is that would make people so mad. Why don't we just get him? The Saints and the Panthers are always signing our guys and learning all our secrets. Let's sign Cam and
I want to see Cam on the Patriots, man. That's what I want to see. I know they'll never do it, but that would be I would love that.
I think the Steelers would be
them too. I just want to see a Cam redemption because I love Cam, but it's I was cheering for him until he just started he just after he didn't die for that ball, it all went downhill.
I want to see a Cam Newton redemption story in the AFC.
That's what I want. Yeah, definitely over there.
That's why I don't mind Steelers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fuck Ben Roethlisberger. So
yeah, he's done for anyway.
Juju would like it. All right, let's take a break.
Cool.
Coming back in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back from the break. This is the Fish and Grits podcast. So getting to, current sports news, since we love sports.
Yay,
sports ball. The National Basketball Association has come up with a plan to return to play. Now, we were talking about this when Bunker was on, right? And we were like, man, do it in Hawaii, do it in Vegas. Now they're doing it at Disney World because ESPN and Disney owns. Disney's going to buy the NBA at this point, which
they already have.
But listen. Just when you start thinking that Disney's too big, remember that Apple could buy Disney with their cash reserves. They could buy them cash.
It's gross.
Right? So gross. Billionaires should not exist. Moving on. So the NBA has come up with a plan to come back to play at least some basketball, right? They're going to finish the season out. Basically, the recap is that you're going to get 22 teams total. So they decided that they want to play teams that are within 6 games of the 8th seed, right? So you've got 13 Western Conference teams that meet that criteria and only 9 Eastern Conference teams that meet that criteria because the East is trash. So they're going to play 22 teams. They're going to play an 8-game regular season for seeding, right? They're going to take the 8 seeds or the 16 playoff teams from that pool. And then they're going to play a elimination tournament they're going to do a play-in for the 8th seed, right? So 9th and 8th seeds will play a single elimination, and then they'll play basically the playoffs from there.
So you're saying they're going to completely reseed it, so like the season won't have any bearing at it at all?
Correct.
Wow.
Well, the season won't have any bearing except for who gets invited to the tournament.
Okay.
Which
I'm mad.
How much of the season did they really play?
Yeah.
All right, so I hear you that you're mad. I'm gonna let you finish, but how, Sway? So they're gonna be in Orlando. It's gonna be July 31st, I think.
Yeah.
With Game 7 of the final scheduled for October. So a couple of things that stick out to me about this, and then I want Marco to talk about this a little bit. The first one is that there's the potential that LeBron James wins 2 rings within 12 months. If the Lakers win this tournament and then he wins the next regular season, which would start like 2 weeks after this season finishes, LeBron James might win 2 rings in 12 months. That's amazing. He's the best. Everybody else sucks. The second thing is that the Hawks are obviously not invited because we were 50 games out of the 8th seed. But because of that, we have seen Vince Carter play his last basketball game. He scored his last bucket of his amazing NBA career for your Atlanta Hawks. And I just want to say, holy shit, Vince Carter. When you signed for the Hawks, I forgot you were in the league. I thought you had retired already. Thank you for coming here and playing on the same team as Jeremy Lin and fulfilling some of my childhood dreams. Marco, tell me how you feel about this NBA tournament.
Well, I mean, I'm obviously very disappointed that they wouldn't just like invite the Hawks, considering Trae Young is such a bright star. But this tournament is the Zion rule. They wanted Zion in there, so that's really all this is about. I would have been happy with just doing the 16 as they finish and as the season allotted them to be. But I mean, that's not going to happen. I think they're definitely letting it run a little way too long. Like, why all the way to October? I guess that brings up questions of like how is it going to be like 7 games? So, I mean, I guess I have to know more information, but I don't think that it should, because I guess they're trying to alley-oop this to the season starting in December, so they can change it from now going on and probably do like 66 games or something like that. That's probably what they have in mind with this, but I think it's going way too like October. Basketball shouldn't go all the way to October. Just shorten the freaking playoffs. Like, stop being such egomaniacs.
That's if everything goes the length that it's it possibly could. The latest it could end is October 12th.
Right, but like we're gonna make it. Like we're gonna make it that far without Rudy Gobert getting COVID again. like that's gonna fucking happen, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, you're already like reseeding everything so Zion can be on TV. Cut the shit. Like, cut the season.
Right.
Basketball is not a summer sport, right? I know they wear tank tops and shorts, but Jesus. All right, Ryan, tell me some NBA thoughts, man.
I'm excited for it, honestly. I'm excited. I think it's just my fandom taking over and the fact that it's the first real major sport that at least I watch, other than the Premier League and all that type of stuff. But the first American sport to come back and really announce that, hey, we have a plan and here's what's going to happen and we are coming back. I think that's the biggest thing that's catching me here. But I would like to see 2 seasons back to back. I hate the off season for any sport. It is.
But that's how they get better.
Okay. I mean, who? The rookies? The Hawks?
Any player who's worth their salt in anything, that's when you use your time to actually get better. You see Trey, you saw how Trey used this summer?
Yeah, I mean, he put on weight. But, hey, guess what?
Although he came back more skilled,
summer. This right now is your summer. Get better.
Trey used his break to be bad at horse and take shitty videos.
No, I was talking about last break, not this break.
And shoot a paper ball.
I'm talking about last summer, not this
summer. Yeah. I mean, when he put on the 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
But, hey, man,
he didn't hire a social media team.
Months.
This break, I don't know what they've been doing. I know he has that little broke hoop in his driveway, but I hope he's called somebody and got into a gym for real.
He's making bad public speeches in Oklahoma right now. And
man, don't hate on Trey. Trey is a young kid, man. He's out here mixing it up with the people in Norman.
Of the Hawks franchise. But public speaking, I can tell that you did not attend that course. Someone did it for you.
I wonder if I wonder if that wasn't even in this curriculum though. You know what I mean?
I think public speaking is in every freshman's curriculum.
I never took it.
Not necessarily.
Nah, but I never took a public speaking course
because I got my degree in killing. Okay,
I don't think Trey's a terrible talker. I think he does okay when he talks. I didn't hear what he did in Norman. I didn't hear what he did that.
But it's not going to be. It's not going to be flowery language. That's for sure.
Look it up yourself. What did Brady say about the Falcons?
Oh, when he said it's. Oh, yeah.
That doesn't make me cringe.
It's not the Falcons that I
cringe.
I'm afraid of. It's the Eagles that I cringe.
Okay, Trey Young opening his mouth virtually on the internet or legitimately in person, I cringe at.
Yeah,
I cringe.
TikTok videos.
There's a reason why Stinger,
this little kid, man.
Shut up. There's a reason why Stinger doesn't, he's like, let's go down to Trey Young on the sidelines, during the Fox Sports South. No, they talked to Vince Carter or Kevin Herter, who is Ryan, but better at basketball.
Wait,
this is just Trey Young is just another amalgamation of AI. It's no one really want to hear AI talk either, but he was amazing at basketball.
Practice.
It's just the other side of it, it's this generation's
corny side.
Yeah, exactly. Because people are a lot more corny today. That's just
thank God we got Cam Reddish, dude. Because
one's tough, hard. I won't say people aren't tough, but it was just a little harder edge a couple generations ago.
That you're starting to sound like Micah.
They were tougher.
They used to shoot each other in the parking lot. Did you see? Michael Jordan had to play against space aliens.
There were gunfights in the locker room. Ask Gilbert Arenas and
ask
Crittenton.
2005.
Why do you think they called them Agent Zero?
They were tough. They were thugs. They were actually gangsters.
Ron Artest jumped into the stands to fight people.
Rap music was real.
That was absolutely hilarious. Fans. It's like Bill Burr said. All those fans over the years, yeah, what are you going to do? Come up here. Well, they came up there, and they beat the hell out of everybody.
The luckiest people on this planet is the fan that Jermaine O'Neal almost hit when he slipped on that drink, and Brad Miller when Shaq went to go hit him.
Yeah.
Those 2 people would have connected. That would have been homicide on both counts.
Yeah, Brad Miller happened to look right.
Huh?
Fist goes up. Oh.
I feel like Micah's image of sports in the late 80s, early 90s is straight out of The Last Boy Scout, right? Where that the beginning of The Last Boy Scout, where that football player is running and he just starts shooting people like that touchdown's going to count. And number one, based on our previous conversation that we had earlier today, there's no way that man would have been able to get a couple shots off because all the cops on the sidelines are trying to shoot them anyway, right? But number two, Micah's it was hard back then. Listen, man, It was so hard. Muggsy Bogues got his basketball energy sucked out of him by a small alien. They were hitting people with anvils. I saw Space Jam. Like, Michael wasn't like 5 years old when all this was happening, right? Like, Michael. All I know is that LeBron James wouldn't try to break. LeBron James wouldn't try to break Nancy Kerrigan's ankles with a lead pipe. You know, like, figure skating used to be mean. Damn, Tanya Harding. All right. So there are other sports that are coming back.
You turn on my air now.
Yeah. There are other sports that are coming back, right? Major League Soccer is approving a plan that's going to bring them back relatively soon for a tournament also at Disney World. Lucky for the NBA, they don't have to worry about sharing field space or anything like that. You're going to get to watch such luminaries as what's his nuts down in Orlando?
What sport?
MLS.
MLS.
Oh God, I don't remember his name.
Oh, what's his nuts? Anyway, you'll get to watch Orlando City play on
Martinez?
No, on high school fields.
Oh, nice.
But at least they're coming back, right?
Yeah.
One sport that looks like, I think the NHL just called it quits, right? Didn't the NHL just say, and we're done?
Apparently, the owner doubled his salary or something. Like,
So
Are they coming back, Ryan?
they're coming back
did
with
you say that?
playoff.
A 4-team playoff?
T4.
Isn't that the whole league?
Pretty much. There's 30 teams in the NHL.
Yes! This is everything I want! Let's go, Preds! Let's go, Preds! If you don't root for the Predators and you're in Atlanta, fuck you.
Right.
So there's one sport that is not coming back anytime soon, and that, my friends, is Major League Baseball. Now, Major League Baseball, the owners are saying that they got rid of the revenue sharing provision that we talked about a few weeks ago on this podcast, right? They got rid of it. They're asking the players for some major financial concessions. And they're saying it's because the billionaire owners, right, are cash poor because they keep investing their money in things like new stadiums. And they want the players to take a bigger hit on their salaries so that the owners can save more money. First off, fuck you, right? Oh, I'm so glad we're going to have an explicit tag on this podcast. Like, that's fine. Like, Bruce Hooper, I don't think Bruce Hooper should make even close to 100% of his salary. Number one, because he's not worth it. But also because he's vastly overpaid, right? Bobby Bonilla probably should take a bit of a pay cut this year, because he won't be contributing.
No, he shouldn't.
No, sir.
He deserves
The Mets. The Mets are the best. But like, it's not those guys that I worry about. You've got like the young kids who are coming in who are getting paid like really low salaries, right? And they're working they're putting their bodies on the line, and they're going to have they're not going to get a full year of time in service, right? Service time. So that means they're going to be under the thumb. Like, I don't think people understand this. When players have team control before their first big free agency season, they get worked to death for almost nothing. That's why, like, when you talk about arbitration and stuff like that in Major League Baseball, like, it's so important. Once they hit free agency, you have to be good enough to make it to your second contract in Major League Baseball to get paid. It's not like the NFL. It's not like the NBA. Like, you got to and those second contracts can be like 8 years,
Yeah.
So like a lot of these, what, Ryan?
I said, or just be Ozzy or Acuna.
Right. But we know how likely that is. Yeah. So these cats are about to lose or not get credit for their full service year. And they're going to have to give up some of their small paycheck because the owners, same owners who were probably saying that I should stop drinking Starbucks, so that I can be a millionaire, right? Probably the same owners that were like, oh, the people only need $1,200 for this pandemic. Like they don't know how much rent costs. They're all Dwayne Wade. Don't know how much clothes cost at Old Navy has. That's baloney. And then Major League Baseball is the only major American sport that did not put out a statement, has not put out a statement about the current unrest and protests going on in the United States and the murder of George Floyd.
Sounds typical.
Fuck baseball. So the MLB looks like it's the worst run sports league in the United States, right? They're hemorrhaging viewers. They're hemorrhaging fans. You know,
even NASCAR is pulling off more than MLB right now.
And NASCAR's like firing people for being racist. You know, there was that cat that like dropped the N-bomb onto like a virtual race stream and was immediately fired.
Yeah, I heard of that.
And NASCAR pulled like, you remember that like enlightened redneck meme for how many years ago? It was that guy was like, that's NASCAR. NASCAR's like, listen here, man. All I know is that colored people got just as much of a right to stand in the middle of the Daytona 500 with a big old chew in their mouth. Like NASCAR, like Micah is NASCAR's like, that's their demographic, you know. Like,
pulling, you like NASCAR.
Right. Do you need very little in a way of excitement to feel excited? Micah's like, NASCAR used to be better back when they used to ram each other. Back when they had spikes that came out the wheels. All right, so I think
you our listeners in on this running joke that they probably don't get. So Micah continuously argues with us on all sports fronts that it was better back in the 80s and 90s. Am I correct, Micah? Am I getting your eras right?
Yeah, some early 2000s too.
Okay.
That's how I feel about Limp Bizkit too.
But this is what we do. We're always pulling Micah's chain, poking fun at him, because everything is always based around the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Because back then, before we knew what CTE was, and before we knew what a 5-point safety harness was in NASCAR, everything was better.
Golf used to be good back when they were wrestle alligators back in the. I'm going to stop now. All right, so I'm going to say that the NBA is the best run professional sports league in America, and I'm going to illuminate why. Number one, they are constantly at the forefront of social issues. Always. Donald Sterling got booted out of the league. Like, the league was like, nah, and then took over the LA Clippers because Donald Sterling was racist. Bob McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans, was a racist. He's dead, and now people wearing patches for him around, right? The NBA loves when its stars are bigger than its owners. Like, I want you to name 5 owners of NBA teams.
Michael Jordan. What's the dude with the Clippers? I feel like I should know his name. Steve Ballmer?
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer.
Yeah.
Who's the owner of the Atlanta Hawks?
Oh, freaking
he's on 92.9.
Tony Wrestler? No, not Tony Wrestler.
No.
Kunin's the CEO. Who's the owner?
Kunin's the CEO. But freaking, how do I not know this?
Boom shakalaka. You know, the only reason I know the owner of the New Orleans Pelicans is because it's the same owner as the New Orleans Saints, and they're all trash people. But like the NBA is doing it right? Like the NBA makes money.
Bang.
Their owners make
global
money. Yeah. People everywhere love the NBA, and they put all of the power on their stars, right? Like LeBron says whatever he wants. It's great. Jaylen Brown drove down from Boston to Atlanta to lead a protest in downtown Atlanta earlier this week.
Even Trey, who y'all trashing, was out in these streets.
Like Trey can say whatever he wants. I just also get to say that he's dumb about it, right? Steve Kerr is on Twitter as a player and as a coach, right? Steve Kerr's on Twitter. Greg Popovich is on Twitter being like, yo, fuck Trump. And Adam Silver's like, yeah. Could you imagine?
He's so political.
Right, but could you imagine if Julio came on Twitter and was just like, yo, fuck Trump. Like that man would be benched, and we would all be like, "But he's the best player in the NFL." And everyone,
I know, right?
the other reason that the NBA is the best run franchise is because they understand that this sport is not for anything other than entertainment. They understand that they play a game, right? Like there are incredible competitors in the NBA, incredible athletes. You know, like you had Kobe Bryant, who was just like he could have been a murderer with his, like he would have been the most successful serial killer in the history of the United States because he was that meticulous, right? We're just lucky he decided to be a basketball player. Kobe could have been president. He just wanted to shoot the three, like Kobe could have been the first black president in like 1998.
Yeah, he's that slick.
But like these, like they are so good and so competitive, but they understand that they are playing a game that was originally designed for children to play. And they're getting paid to play a game, and it's for our entertainment. Unlike
Do
the NFL,
they always understand that though? I don't know if they always understand that. I remember,
man, the NBA doesn't jerk
season,
itself off like wearing a flag cape.
They were complaining about a lot of petty stuff last season where they were like, people don't know what it's like to be so tired and being on the road. It's like, bro, there's people who don't even sleep every day. Like there's people who work so much. I think a lot of them lose scope. I just think millionaires in general lose scope. So I don't know if I can go that far. So
like I'm going to say that you don't understand what it's like to work in your bedroom. Like that's just people being like, I've got it worse than you, which is just, it is worldwide. But what I mean is that like the NBA, when the NBA does like the NBA Cares, right? It's like, we want kids to have food. Right. When the NFL does NFL Cares, it's like, we have special edition camouflage uniforms, and we love America, America. Like the NFL takes itself so fucking seriously, and Major League Baseball thinks that it's a religion. The NBA is just like, you know what? We're shooty hoops, man. It's dope. Let's just do this. Let's do a tournament and get Zion on TV. The NBA is the best run major American sports league, and I dare any of you to convince me otherwise.
Well, of course, I disagree.
God damn it, Micah.
But I mean, like I said, I understand. I understand a lot of what you're saying, and the NBA does a great job of marketing, especially their superstar, their marquee players, do better than any other sports organization marketing. But I think I think the biggest reason why they still can't beat the NFL as far as like revenue and so on and so forth is because I think the appeal of the league, players are so free to do what they want that it's kind of actually hurt the bigger picture a little bit, because the super teams have taken a lot of parity out. Rivalries bring a lot of stories and bring a lot of money in. I mean, look, how many times as Falcons fans, how many times have we been bad in years, but people still pay great money to go see us play the Aints every year? It doesn't matter. It's more about that experience, the rivalry. Despite how bad we are, we get destroyed 40-3, and it wouldn't matter. It's just that rivalry.
Are you saying the NFL is the best run organization?
I think the NFL really, I think they're focused on building their brand as opposed to necessarily the individual player's brand is why they continue to do better.
Okay, so there are 16 NFL games, right?
Yeah.
There are 8 played at home.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna do this math just really quick. Okay, so I don't know if anybody knows or doesn't know. Baseball is my favorite sport. I grew up as a Cubs fan. I also grew up as a Bulls fan.
So you're wearing a Stripers hat.
Yeah, I grew up as a Cubs fan. I converted once I married my wife. I'm full on ATL, right? I grew up a Bulls fan too, so maybe that's why I like the NBA, so much. But there are 160-ish Major League Baseball games in a season. Okay? There's 16 NFL games. That means that every one NFL game is 10 Major League Baseball games. All right? So that means that every half of an NFL game is what? 1 to 10, 5 Major League Baseball games. So every quarter is 2.5. The quarter's 15 minutes long, right? So every minute of an NFL game is something like, I did this math. It's something like 3 innings of Major League Baseball.
I like what you're doing here.
So like, I will go to, 5-6 Braves games during the year, and I'll spend like $30-$40 per ticket. Sometimes I'll while out and I'll do like 75, if I'm trying to bring my son and I want him to, have the best time, If I go to an NFL game, like I'm going to spend over $100 on Falcons tickets because I only get 8 chances to go. So like the NBA season is 80 games. You got 40 chances to watch the Hawks. You only have 8 chances to watch the Falcons. And the other thing is that NBA teams, if they're bad for longer. Whereas NFL teams, you only play 1 game a week, if that. So you've got a chance to sort of reconfigure, and like if you go on runs, your run is shorter. So it's just it's all about sample size, right? I don't think the NFL is also benefit. People are going to get real. People listening to this podcast are going to get real mad at me in a second. The NFL is benefiting from the fact that it was until really the 80s, it's a white people's sport. It was full of white folks for the majority of its history, just like Major League Baseball. Whereas the NBA has seen so much more integration and parity as far as the racial dynamics, not only of its teams, but also of its, of its fan bases. So the reason more people watch football is because there are more white people in America. The reason more white people watch football is because a lot of them are living in the country and, they're like, hell yeah, we hit people. We drive NASCAR cars in this family. Woo! You know what I mean? Like, my daddy was a Bills fan, whereas with the NBA, like, what's the first NBA game you remember watching?
Bulls.
Yeah, it was Bulls game, one of the Jordan games.
How many white people were on that Bulls team?
Gugliotta, Tony Kukoc.
This was the first run, so
I'm talking like 87, 88.
Back then, oh yeah, not many.
Yeah, then there wasn't many at all. But when I saw, I remember I immediately saw Paxson, but they stood out too. They would definitely stand out. I'd be like,
and
oh,
I was
like, white guys.
I was like, yeah, Tony Kukoc, because I was white and I was identifying with the white dude, But like all my friends in my neighborhood outside of Chicago were all black anyway. So I was always like, did you see there's a white guy on the team? And they're just like, shut up, man, get a Jordan jersey, you punk. And I did. But that's sort of what I'm saying is like, if we're looking at leagues that are not going to go stale, right? Like we are an excellent cross section of who people should be trying to market themselves to, right? Like we're all in our 30s, we're diverse, we're smart, at least I'm smart. But you know what I mean? Like we are like urban, like we're the people who are going to be spending money on these sports going forward. And the NBA speaks to me.
I feel you that
right.
I feel that, yeah.
And I'm not going to watch every game because there are too many fucking games. But I'm going to watch the shit out of this tournament.
But see, and that's another thing that is why football, because it's so few games that you get a lot more excited to see it.
But I think let me say this. Like, obviously, the choice is either between the NBA and the NFL. Even though I could make a case there are other leagues that work with less, But I think both the NBA has like a major advantage in the fact that their players are so easy to market. Not only are they all tall as fuck. We can curse, right? My bad.
Yeah, we got that explicit tag, my G.
and you can see their faces, so they always had that advantage. And like you said, they know their demographic and they exploit it, even when they're insincere sometimes, like, with their activism, but then not standing up for China, that kind of thing. Like, they still know exactly. And at the end of the day, it's still about business. And he was doing a money sign for those listening. It's all about business. So they're insincere in that, right? But I will say, as a business, they are the most, progressive. They're the most, listen to their players. They don't have problems that the other leagues have. The NFL is going to have a lockout soon.
They've had their share. They dealt with them differently, though.
They have, but David Stern was a little bit more, of a hard-handed ruler than Adam Silver. Adam Silver is very, very liberal. He's very open to interacting with LeBron, and so
right.
I got to say.
Like commissioner, right? I just think
the perfect commissioner for a sport in this era. I mean, Lionel, I had a whole spiel wound up, and you kind of nailed it for me. I think the biggest thing is the NFL is more willing to kowtow to the
don't kneel by my flag
than the NBA is.
Like I said, I agree with y'all. I definitely agree with y'all on that. The only thing is, I also do remember some of the dark moments, i.e., how the NBA treated Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and Craig Hodges, how both of their careers ended.
They literally put a rule in there
protesting during the national anthem.
Yeah, there's a rule in their book that says you can't do that. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why they.
Even
that's
in
why
that sense, you could say they handled that better.
Well, that's why they added the rule, is because, and they basically excommunicated both of those guys from the NBA because of their protests against the anthem.
So when Eric Garner was killed, right? When Eric Garner was killed, the whole NBA came out in warm-ups and shirts that said "I can't breathe."
Yeah.
So like they might have been like back in the day, Major League Baseball was the most progressive major American sport when they let Jackie Robinson come play.
History-wise, right?
But that was you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, like that was so long ago that like, do you know anybody that watched Jackie Robinson play?
No, sir.
No. The only exposure that most people have to Jackie Robinson is Chadwick Boseman. Before he became T'Challa. I love that movie.
I do, but they're older. But yes, I do.
Right, but I don't, and that's sort of what I'm saying.
I've never talked to anybody who watched Jackie Robinson play, unfortunately. Or maybe I have. I don't know. Maybe I just never asked.
Like, I mean, if you probably asked your grandparents, maybe. Like me, mine definitely did.
That's your homework assignment, Marcos, to figure out if you know anybody that watched Jackie Robinson play.
I feel it'd almost be insulting to ask. I don't think my grandpa's old enough. Or Ryan, you didn't come through. What'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying 1957 is when he ended his career. I mean, most of our parents were just being born then, so it was definitely grandparents if they did.
Yeah, my mom was 1.
Yeah, my mom was 5.
I don't think either of my parents were born yet in 1957.
No, both your parents are youngins.
I think what we're saying, Micah, is that like for this current day and age, right now, 2020, the hellhole of a year that we're in, given everything that's going on right now, the NBA is the one that is, they're getting their season resumed. Number one, they canceled everything like that, right? Like Rudy tested, and they were like, that's it.
I'm not like just adamantly against what you're saying. It's just, in my opinion, I believe that that there's things about the NFL has taken, there's steps that they've taken that make it interesting, and that's my thing. Like I said, I'm big on rivalry. Rivalry is huge for sports. That's why college sports are huge, regardless of.
Also, because everybody peaks in college.
Huh?
Also, because everybody peaks in college.
But as far as like college sports, whether basketball, football, whatever, rivalries are huge. Like I mean, we got a rivalry between two of our people on this podcast right now. Marco's a
That's
Miami
true.
fan.
Hey, but that's college though. Don't drag NCAA into this.
So I mean, it's just rivalries are a beautiful thing to me. I love it. I love rivalries.
I understand what you're saying. I think what the difference is that I feel like we're talking about like a business structure, whereas you're talking about the product. So I think NFL does have the best product. You're right, because they do market the teams. You care more about individual games, whereas the NBA, like Lionel said, the season's long, so they focus more on the players.
Well,
Which is probably to their detriment.
That's another reason why. Because I'm not a fan of people who jump teams according with players. It's like, oh, I'm a Cavs fan. Oh, LeBron went to the Lakers. I'm a Lakers fan, bro.
But you can relate though. Aren't you a Hawks fan? Like, it's almost like you have to cheer for
and that's exactly why. Because I've suffered for decades. I've sat in misery, but I've stayed strong.
So
all these people are just like, hey, I'm jumping teams with my guy.
So I have another way of looking at this for you. Okay. So I was born into basketball fandom, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just what happened. And I converted to the Hawks when I converted to being Southern and from Atlanta. I say y'all. I like hot sauce on my chicken. Like it's a thing. What?
But calm down, Hillary.
Shut up.
You're pandering.
I have black friends. But Formula One, right? Like Formula One is the most popular racing circuit on the planet. Like those dudes go fast. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get into Formula One, right? So a couple seasons ago, I turned on the Monaco Grand Prix and I watched Daniel Ricciardo hold off Sebastian Vettel to win the Monaco Grand Prix with a broken engine. It was a master class in driving. Now, you can't go fast in Monaco. Like the circuit's kind of boring. And I learned that later. But I was like, man, Danny Rick is my dude. And then I saw Lewis Hamilton. And I said, hold on just one fucking minute. He's young. He's the only black driver in the history of Formula One. He is the best driver in the history of Formula One. This man is just like, he is impossibly good. And he's an Arsenal fan. And I was like, now I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. But then at the same time, I like Daniel Ricciardo. He just went to McLaren in this he's going to McLaren in this offseason. McLaren is a partially American-owned brand, right? And now I'm like, I also like McLaren because I like Daniel Ricciardo. Like, we have an American team. There's an American team, but they can kiss my ass. If Lewis went from Mercedes, which is one of the reasons why he's so good, but I mean, he is like stupid good. If he goes from Mercedes back to McLaren, which is where he started his career with, I would be a McLaren fan, because all that matters to me is that Lewis Hamilton is the reason why I started watching the sport, because he was the reason why I realized that it wasn't just a stuffy white people thing with a bunch of like European white dudes who are like Lewis is like that man is like progressive and vegan, and like he's everything that you would not expect a Formula One driver to be, and he is outspoken about it, and he roots for the Gunners. So like I got into basketball because of Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan had gone to the Clippers at the prime of his career, my ass would have a Clippers hat, because that's Michael Jordan.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I definitely, and I mean, there are players that I really like. Like I love Steph Curry. Steph Curry's a great player, but my loyalty will always remain with the Hawks. Now,
I think that's the fun part of the NBA, right? Because you can do both. It's like I'll always cheer for Steph Curry, but if the Hawks play Steph Curry,
I mean, but you really could do that in almost any sport. Like with football.
Football's hard.
Fan, die hard.
I think.
But when we get eliminated, like I can root for Pat Mahomes, or I can say, you know, I hope Sean McVay does well, But, you know, now granted, like I said, I can't stand Jared Goff, but I can support other people. It's fine to support other people, but when your literal team changes every time players move, especially now because players want to jump teams to suit whatever they're feeling at a certain time, it's just like, dude, just pick a team and stay with them. Pick
That doesn't
one.
have anything to do with the NFL running either.
Huh?
I said that doesn't. That's still. I feel like that we're getting deep into the personal.
If you're from Marietta and you're born and raised in Marietta and you're a Cavs fan, fuck you.
Well, I mean, but
if you are from Orlando and you like Julio Jones and Julio Jones ends up on the Patriots, you can be a Patriots fan. That's fine, because Orlando is a shithole and doesn't have anything.
It's always bothered me, like these folks who are like, I'm a Lakers fan, a Yankees fan, and it's like, dude, you're rooting for all these teams that you probably never get to see play. If they win a championship, you can't even go celebrate because they're too far away. So why waste your time? So, like, meanwhile,
that's awfully cynical of you, Micah.
If the Hawks ever win a championship, you might see me front and center on the camera running next to the float like, we did it. Yes, it finally happened.
All right, I'm gonna cut you off because we sort of got in the weeds, but the moral of the story is that Micah's wrong again about all of this. There are some other sports leagues that are coming back. So we had the aforementioned at Major League Soccer. Major League Soccer will be playing in Orlando. They're going to play a pretty significant tournament that they say will not count as their full regular season, but I would bet you $20 that this country screws up and has another coronavirus spike, and that's the end of that. So watch as much of this as you can while you can. The other one that I think is super interesting is the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League. So the NWSL, we have the honor of hosting the premier women's soccer league on the planet. Like, now when they're in the off season, players go to Australia because they don't make enough money, because we don't value women's sports and blah, 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 blah. But like, you know, the United States won 3 World Cups in a row. The U.S. women won 3 in a row. I think we've got 5 now total.
Yeah.
Or they went back to back at the very least. Three-peat. You can watch those players play against each other every week in the NWSL. Interesting to note, Crystal Dunn, who plays left back for the U.S. women's national team, is a striker in North Carolina. She's actually their central attacking midfielder. She's their number 10 for the North Carolina Courage.
So how do they even do it? Like they have how many teams are in the this league?
I think there are only like 10 or 12. They're not very many. But you've got guys like Megan Rapinoe plays, Crystal Dunn plays here. Alex Morgan plays for Orlando. Dom Dwyer's wife, Sydney LaRue. They're 9. Yeah, so they're 9. So NWSL is fantastic. They're super outspoken. They let their players do whatever they want, you know, but they also play women's soccer at a super high level. Like you're basically seeing a reconfigured women's World Cup every week. You know, they randomize the rosters. And it's cool because the Courage are up the street in Charlotte.
The best team.
They are very, very good. They're going to play a tournament for their whole season in Utah and Salt Lake City. And it's going to start on the 12th, I think. And it's going to be available on CBS All Access. Every single game is going to be available. If you like soccer, watch them. Number 1, because they deserve the viewers and the money and stuff like that, right? And number 2, because they're really, really good. And the Premier League is going to come back, I think, on the 19th. I think is when the Premier League is coming back.
Yeah.
They're also going to play no fans. Fine. Whatever. Arsenal's not going to make the top 4, so I don't give a shit. and I'm disappointed because it looks like Liverpool's gonna win the title. So that's the current state of sports. All right, so I saw a commercial earlier today. It was for the General car insurance, and Snoop Doggy Dog, was in the driver's seat, and he was rapping the go to the General and save some time, but like it's Snoop Dogg doing it, right? How far has Snoop fallen that he's in this commercial? Number one. And number two, what's your worst celebrity commercial? And I'm gonna sort of kickstart you with I know I've been talking for like an hour now. I'm gonna shut up soon, I promise. There was one that I saw in Chicago where this guy was like, he like stubbed his toe or something like that, and then MC Hammer comes out of a toolbox and it's like, hey man, you gotta call my dude, this lawyer. And the guy's like, what do you mean, MC Hammer? And he's like, this lawyer will help you. You got hurt on the job, he's gonna help you. And the guy's like, okay, fine. Hey, why are you into toolbox? He's like, because I'm a hammer.
I forgot about that.
What's your worst celebrity commercial, Ryan?
I think it was Jerry Seinfeld, and I think it was actually a Windows commercial back in the day. It was Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Gates in like a shoe store. Let me see if I can find that. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm talking about. But that was awful. Like, one, who advertises an operating system?
Windows. Microsoft.
Commercial.
They were a big deal when they would drop. I remember when, what was it, Vista came out?
I guess.
Or was it XP? Which one of them? They had big campaigns. To get all excited for their big green button.
Yeah, here it is. I'm going to send it to y'all in the chat.
Don't play it because we'll get copyright striked.
I'm not going to play it in here. I'll send it to y'all in the chat, though.
All right, let's see.
But yeah, it's god-awful. One, Bill Gates is just a really awkward person, obviously, because he has a social disorder. But
hang on. I'm gonna watch this. Bill Gates is in a Foot Locker.
Yeah.
Are they talking? Is it him and Jerry?
Yeah, okay. So Jerry Seinfeld is eating a churro. Oh, this is so much fun. I'm going to love narrating this. Jerry Seinfeld is walking through a mall eating a churro, right? And he's, dressed like Jerry Seinfeld, and he walks by this shoe store. It looks like a Foot Locker, and he sees Bill Gates in there. But the shoe store is doing like a huge discount sale on the shoes, right? He's like, wait a minute, why is Bill Gates in there buying cheap shoes? What's the deal? All right, here we go. Jerry Seinfeld offered Bill Gates some of his churro, and Bill Gates said, no, thank you. They're talking about how Bill Gates has different size feet and how one shoe feels tighter than the other one. Jerry Seinfeld just told Bill Gates about this leather shoe that he's buying. They're talking about shoes. Oh my God, this is the longest commercial ever.
A minute and a half, I think. Yeah.
This for Microsoft? Jesus.
Yeah. For a like an operating system, man.
Oh my gosh.
The future, delicious. Windows. Wow. That whole commercial was actually just Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Gates talking about leather shoes. And then it was like, buy Windows.
Yeah.
That was.
What does it have to do with anything?
That was terrible. Micah.
Ooh, I've seen quite a few bad commercials in my day. But the first one that came to mind were all of those Jeff Goldblum apartment.com commercials.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like random. He's doing something random, and it's like, find an apartment. Like, what does this have to do with finding an apartment? Really? Like, yeah, that was the first one that popped in mind. I could probably figure out more, but that was the first one.
Marco?
So I got a 1A, 1B. So the first one, I think it was an MC Hammer commercial. It was something about he jumped over the fence and they threw him back or something because they didn't want him. I forget exactly what it was but but they played him out pretty bad. But my worst one, he might not be a celebrity, y'all, but the guy who used to be what was that guy who used to be on like Sprint? He was like, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, Mike. Yeah, Mike.
And then the way he came back, and then he like turncoated, and now he's on whatever.
Now he's on Sprint. Yeah, he was on Verizon for the longest time. Now he's like, Sprint is just as good as Verizon. We're like, Mike, nobody believes you, dude.
No one believes you.
No one believes you. We know it's just for the money. It's just like when Caleb McGrary was like, I'm so sorry, Black Lives Matter. I'm so sorry. And my response to him was like, yo, that PR department got to you, didn't they?
Real quick.
No one believes you. I got 20 likes. That's my most liked tweet ever. I got a follower because of that.
Nice.
I have 3 now. And it's all because Caleb McGrary is like,
Our podcast Twitter.
what?
You should have tweeted from our podcast Twitter.
That's true, but I'm not trying to mess with Marco's
we're not. Our thing's not
algorithms.
ready because we don't even have a banner yet. So it's okay that you didn't tweet.
God, Marco, you're so.
No, it's not Marco's fault.
Lionel not sending that picture. All right, Dollar, Ryan, lightning round us.
Okay, so it's not going to be as random or as quirky as Lionel's, but if you could choose one player's skill set from any sport to dominate in this era of the current sport, what would you choose? Marco. Or I can give you all 30 seconds to ponder it.
Wait, but so when you say that, I guess we have to pick the sport and the like.
If you could space jam any athlete,
Right.
to all of a sudden become a dominant athlete in this day and age.
Who would it?
Oh.
I mean, it would have to. It would, for my size. I mean, I have to consider size, so it would have to be like Steph Curry.
Their size too, if you'd like, just to help.
Yeah, the Monstars turned into giant monster versions of Charles Barkley.
Right.
Except the Muggsy guy. He was still small.
Like, I guess I would still probably. I mean, I would say MJ, but that's cliche. So I'd just go with Steph Curry because it's more like how I play anyway, and I would utilize mid range unlike Steph Curry. So I would do that.
Not use Steph Curry's skill set.
He wants DeMar DeRozan.
Right.
No, but I'd still pull up.
Steph Curry's skills, but I'm not really going to use them. I'm going to step in about 15 feet and take those like MJ.
All right, so this might not be the best run front office in Atlanta, but they are a front office in Atlanta. That's sort of what Marco is doing. I'm going to say Mike Tyson's hands.
Ooh.
I think Mike Tyson was a generational talent, and I think he was meaner than Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
And I think he would probably kill people in the ring right now. Still, I would just not rape people.
It's a solid choice.
Was that alleged or was that confirmed? Did he,
Whatever. Same face tattoo, though. I want the face tattoo. That needs to come with the powers. Micah.
Yeah, I actually brought some idea like that up in the chat a while ago. Like I said, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. If you put him in today's NBA, he would be very similar to like Steph Curry. That was the type of player he was, but in an era where, in a non-analytical era, though.
Bobo.
I keep going back and forth between.
If you say some Florida State bullshit, I'm going to jump through this chat. It's just like
Greg Jones.
Right. Ooh.
Greg.
I am going back and forth between Pat Mahomes and his ability to scramble and just throw it from any angle. Essentially, he's the better, more athletic Rich Gannon.
Whoa.
Oof.
Or just because of the current setup of the NBA, young Shaq, like I just came from Orlando, Shaq.
Yeah, I would go with that one. That'd be great.
the only center that you might run into that might give him a slight resistance is Gobert.
Defensively, but I mean, he gave Gobert a nightmare. But Gobert's sort of sensitive.
Gobert though.
Gobert's sensitive too. Like,
Yeah.
he'd make him mad.
Maybe Dwight and those big shoulders.
Old Dwight though.
Go Shaq, just because I think he would absolutely dominate in this current era.
Yeah, he would be disgusting, especially with how he could run the court in Orlando.
Man,
Oh my God.
How many rings you got, Chuck?
Point center. Shaq in this era would average 38 and 20.
I told Kobe. I told Phil.
I told Phil.
Kobe and I'll play. Give me the ball, and I'm going to dunk it.
I'm going to dunk it. All right. Hey, Michael Thomas is softer than Wonder Bread. Fuck that guy. And fuck you, Drew Brees. We just didn't mention it this week.
YouTube broadcast of this. Sorry that I keep turning my back. I am doing a Madden live draft right now with the Falcons.
That's all right. We've gone so far off the rails today. It's already 10 o'clock. All right. So let's end it with a podcast recommendation for the people. I'm going to go first. My recommendation of the podcast is The Anthropocene Reviewed. It's by WNYC and John Green, the author who wrote The Fault in Our Stars. He reviews every week or every month 2 different facets of the human-centered planet on a 5-star scale. The first episode, he reviewed Canada geese and Diet Dr. Pepper. The second, he reviewed Halley's Comet and cholera. And his episode 3, Googling Strangers and Kentucky Bluegrass, made me sob in my car in front of my office. He's an incredible writer. Some of it's really funny. They're only like 20-minute episodes that come out once a week. Go ahead and give it a listen. Marco, what you got? Podcast, YouTube channel?
Say that name of yours one more time.
The Anthropocene Reviewed.
Anthropocene Reviewed.
And I'll go ahead and remind me to toss these in the show notes too.
Okay. I like Busy Bones podcast that he does. I think it's called like Jam TV. And then I also like All the Smoke. And we were talking about Vince Carter earlier. He's done now. If y'all really want to see a great interview, it's long, like 2 hours, but Vince dropped so many jewels in that interview. It's awesome if you're a real basketball Vince Carter fan, especially.
Micah.
As far as podcasts, I have to say one of the most hilarious podcasts ever. Pat McAfee. That dude is pure hilarity. And but as far as like a YouTuber, I watch them all the time. Abba and Preach, they good commentary, and they're comedians, so they can talk a lot of trash and make light of a lot of funny situations. So,
Bobo,
I'm gonna give you 2. I'm gonna go Dr. K Out of Context. He is a clinical psychiatrist that does Twitch streaming now. He started off he did a Reddit AMA. That's an Ask Me Anything. He said, I'm a clinical psychiatrist. I'm interested in gaming addiction. Ask me anything. And it just blew up from there. He started his own Twitch streaming. I just started watching him not too long ago, and I've watched quite a few of them. He's actually very good. He addresses a lot of things, addresses a lot of addiction and a lot of gaming addiction that a lot of people don't really talk too much about. And then there is Noel Miller. He is part of the Tiny Meat Gang along with Cody Co. He is absolutely hilarious. He does a Twitch stream every week, but he also does YouTube videos as well, where he does social commentary. They do live stand-up where they go around the nation and do that. Well, they did. Absolutely hilarious. One of the most underrated guys on YouTube, in my opinion. I think we've shown Marco a few of them. But very good watches. Both intelligent people with a good outlook on the world.
Yeah, if you're looking for a YouTube channel to watch, I would also tell you to go for Good Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link. I watched that with my kids. They do some fun stuff like Will It Pop Tart, which is a fun game. And also the one I just watched recently, it's kind of an old episode, but it's What's in My Suitcase, where they have to guess blindfolded what's in a suitcase, and when they were touching the hairless cat, it was really funny. It made me laugh out loud. All right, that's all the time we got. Join us next week for Oprah Winfrey, our very special guest. We will also try to get down to the reason behind some of Micah's opinions on quarterbacks and their quarterback play
And their salaries.
And hopefully the entire country doesn't collapse before we come back.
And why football would be better with spikes on their shoulder pads.
All right. If it was literally from Mad Max. Quick little promo shout out. He's not paying us, but check out my boy Carl Nyberg sells Sway Sauce on Instagram and Facebook. That's SWAY sauce, homemade hot sauce here in Atlanta. He just made Carolina Reaper he's about to kick out. That mess is delicious. Our music is by Vatilas, also known as Juan Solano. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks a bunch for listening. Be nice to each other.